Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And I'm feeling cold. My house is struggling to get enough heat into it. But I'm very fortunate. I live here in southern British Columbia, and so even though it's a ridiculous temperature, let me see. I just got to look here to see. It's minus. No, it is. Trying to see what it is in Fahrenheit. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. It's about 10 degrees Fahrenheit here right now, which is not what I'm used to at all. And yeah, what can I say? I think the back end of my house has frozen. So I'm just going to have to do what I can to uh, get those pipes working again. And the silly thing was that I had a hot water line dripping all night intentionally, but now I'm beginning to think it should have been a cold water line, not a hot water line. Anyway, never mind. It is what it is, and I will deal with it as usual. There's not much we haven't dealt with over the years, hey people. So, for those of you who don't know, welcome. This is Dear Mama Sal. I am one of a number of people who get together every week to talk about life and how to cope with it. And on Fridays, we talk about coping with feelings, and on Sundays, we talk about coping with stress. And a very warm welcome to you and to Jody, who is our admin, and Sandy is here as well. So good to see you. So we'll have some lively chat, that's for sure. Our topic today is dealing with somebody who's laying a guilt trip on you. I think we've all had it happen, right? And I, but they do say that nobody can lay a guilt trip on you unless you accept it, right? And we'll talk about that in a second. Excuse me. Wow. Mm. And the reason that I say that is because there are a couple of things I just want to talk about. Hello. Could you please just go where I want you to go? Um, the first one that I wanted to talk about was the fact that it's been 12 years now since I gave up smoking. And to me, that is just like the greatest anniversary. And thank you so much, Jody, for reminding me of that, because you know something, I had clean forgotten what the date was. So I really appreciate the fact that you care enough about me to keep track of that and to remind me this morning when I woke up. So here's our first quote. I thought this was so apropos, as they say, so meaningful. It said, a second kind of a guilt trip is a special kind of manipulation tactic. A manipulator suggests to the conscious victim that he or she does not care enough, is too selfish, or has it easy. This usually results in the victim feeling bad, keeping them in a self-doubting, anxious, and submissive position. How many of you have been there, done that? And if you have, then you will understand the topic today. The first thing I want to do is to remind you of, by the way, thank you guys, those of you who are online and congratulating me on my 12 years smoke-free. I'd love to be able to tell you I never think about it. It's not true. There've been some things that have happened and I've thought I could really do with a cigarette right now. And then I remind myself, no, I really need to sit down and relax right now because I'm stressed. And, I use that trigger as a positive thing to tell me to, sit down and relax. Anyway, so I personally love it when viewers come up with topics that they would like to talk about or tell me about situations, and I say to them, can I use that as a topic, because it's I know that they're not the only ones suffering from this. So we all gain from the experience when you share these situations with us. So here we go. Let's see if we can do this. I'm going to tell you about the situation that the viewer had later, because I want to just, first of all, make sure that we're ready to hear her story, that we have done our homework, so to speak. And the reason I say that is because it's really important that you get the full understanding of these things rather than just partially. All right, so first of all, I want to give you an example from my one that I remember. Funny enough, when I heard this and I thought, what examples do I have from my life? For some reason, my first car, no, I lie, my first brand new car, in fact, it might have been the only brand new car I ever bought, came to mind. It was a bright yellow little Fiat. And you can imagine how excited I was. I was in my early 20s and I bought it with my own money uh, on a payment plan. You know what I mean? And it was just so exciting to me. And I I think I've been driving it around for about, I don't know, about a week, I think. And for some reason, I drove into a parking lot somewhere. And you know what it's like? I did what I had to do, got back in the car and checked the rear view mirror, because now I'm going to reverse out. And when I checked the rear view mirror, there was nothing behind me. And there was nothing behind the parking space behind me either, which was a good thing, because that meant I could go back and then swing right, easily, all right? So I engaged reverse and I reversed into what I thought was an empty parking space behind me. And there wasn't. In that moment, in that moment, a car had drawn in there. And so I hit it with my brand new car. Now, there's one thing I think you all know if you've ever had a brand new car. It only feels comfortable after you've got the first ding in it, because up until that point, you everything, you're hoping people stay away from you because this is a brand new car, and you polish it 5 times a week, and all those sort of things. Once it's got a ding in it, it becomes a normal car. Do any of you relate to that? It's just like, okay, now it's normal. So there's part of me that was actually quite okay with the fact that it got a ding in it. However, the guy in the other car didn't feel the same way. He came out and he lambasted me, I think is the word. He came out and he lashed out at me like you cannot believe. He called me all sorts of names that I cannot repeat on YouTube. And he said them loudly and viciously. And, the thing was that his reason for being so angry was understandable. He said, "How could you hit me? I've got a child in the car." And, I don't know about you, but his anger matched my confusion, which was like, did he really think I meant to hit him? Do any of you relate to it? Did he honestly think that I meant to hit him? And, what I found is when you get into a situation like this, there is one thing you really want to remember, and that is, let me just get it up, Newton's third law of motion. I just always have to remember that it's the third. And that has to do with that something in motion, if it hits an object, this object also has force, all right? So you will know that when you've got into an argument, somebody pushes you, you push back, you push them, they push back, and on it goes. It's not the way to fix anything. I've always said that. You cannot win an argument like this when you're both highly charged. Why? Too much force going on, too much emotional force going on. So remember Newton's third law. Something pushing there, this will automatically push back. And, if you've ever remember those, what were they called? Inertia balls that you sort of had 6 in a row or something, and the first one, and it just kept going like this. And that is right. So you cannot win an argument when people are highly charged. Nor do you want to win an argument. Let's be honest. You don't want to win it. You want it to be fair, right? So did I totally understand why he was upset? Yep. Totally understood that. And so then I learned over the years, and funny enough, I even knew it then, which was when somebody is that highly charged, you shut up. You let them rant and rave or rage, as the case was, until they run out of steam. And it's the most amazing thing. And if you start to talk and they start off again, just shut up and let them carry on. And the thing is, do not take any of it on. It's not your baggage. Do you understand that? It doesn't belong to you. It's their baggage, their anger, their inability to stay calm in a stressful situation. But have compassion, absolutely. In your bag should be full of compassion. Did I totally get why he was so upset that I hit his car with a child in it? So what I want to make sure that we all get is that I let him call me all these names and I didn't stop him. Okay? I didn't stop him because there's no point. He hadn't finished being angry yet. All right? And if you wait them out, it's amazing how they start to settle down. But expect a second or third wave. And each time they start up again, just shut up. So the other thing is understand reality. Regardless of what I say, do you think that that guy cared about my stuff, my baggage? No, he didn't care about why I hit him. He cared that I hit him. So any reasoning that I had really, didn't go very well. So what I found out is it's a really good idea. I call it my arrow method. Can't remember how I learned this, but I learned it a long time ago. And it does work extremely well, which is if somebody attacks you verbally, imagine it's an arrow and it hits you. Now, the one thing is you are in shock, right? Like, what the happened? Boom. And what you do is you take out the arrow because you don't want to hold on to it, okay? And you turn it around and ignore the dripping blood. That's just stuff, all right? And now what you do is you send the arrow back. Because the moment you send the arrow back, you are free of it. And the way you send it back is to ask a question, but only after they've vented. Right? Got that? Let them vent fully first. And sometimes it's even worth saying, I hear you're really angry. Do you have more to say? What? Well, I don't want to start talking to you if you still have more you want to tell me. I want to be respectful. And that normally completely confuses them because they expect you to come back with that Newton's third law. They expect you to come back angry, all right? So what happened was the guy looked very confused at me and he said, no, that's it. I said, okay. So I said, I do have a question if you want to hear it. Now, the reason I say that is, is he ready to hear a question? And the only way you find out is to ask. And funny enough, by asking them, just completely floors them as well, because it shows respect. Well, all right then, what? I said, do you honestly, in your heart of hearts, do you honestly think I meant to hit you? And you see, it's logical, right? Well, no, but da-da-da-da-da. And what I needed was the well, no. And then he went off again. That's good. And I said, totally hear you. I can imagine how angry you are that I hit you with a child in the car. But I assure you that was never my intent. I assure you that I looked in my rear view mirror, and when I did, there was nothing behind me. And so I engaged reverse and reversed. And in that split second, you must have swung in really quickly. But, I said, you went into the space, and I didn't see it. And I am so sorry. That's the other thing. Make sure you apologize up front. I am so sorry. And I can assure you, if I came out to intentionally hit anybody today, it would not have been a car with a child in it. Well, I had a sticker on the back and everything, and I said, I know, but obviously I didn't see it because I didn't see anything when I looked in my rear view mirror. Does that make any sense to you? If I had known you were there, I would never have reversed. I would have waited until you were parked and then reversed. And I'm pretty certain that somewhere in your logic you can understand that. And I hope you can find it in your heart to understand that. It was not my intent to hit you. And then you'll find that there comes a point where they're not quite sure what to say next. All right? They don't know what to say next because the logic gets to them. And they will stall. You can almost hear them thinking, trying to come up with a new argument because the one they're using isn't working. It's not guilting you out. And so then when you get to that stage, then it's time to move forward. And what I said to him when he got to that stage was, by the way, why did you come to the mall today? What? Well, you're at the mall, so why did you come? And he said, to go shopping because, And I said, okay, I just want to check. Do you want to carry on with what we're doing now, or should we get our paperwork and exchange it and get on with the day that we planned before I so rudely interrupted it? I hope this is making sense to you. You see, it's difficult to fight against somebody who stays calm. I've always said to people, if somebody's hitting you like this, it's so absolutely natural to push back. But the best force you can use against somebody pushing against you with guilt is to get out of the argument, and they fall over. And the way you get out of the argument is you start agreeing with them. I totally agree that you have every reason to be angry with me. Why wouldn't you be? You got a child in the car. I can see that. But as I said, I didn't. Yeah, I'm a broken record. And as I said, I had no intention of hitting you. I looked in my rearview mirror. There was nothing there. And then there was when I hit you. So I'm hoping that that example gives you some guideline. Now, let me give you a second one. Because, again, I'm hoping that it will make sense. Unbeknownst to me, I had no idea about this. My sister sent me a very fancy gizmo to use in my car that in the event of a flat tire, it would pump up my tire, or in the event that my battery died or something, I could restart my battery. So it was a car size battery pack. And air pusher, if you like. Very clever gizmo. The only problem was I didn't know. And the first I knew was when my sister wrote to me and absolutely lambasted me because the present she had sent me got returned. I went, what? And she said, yes, your post office just advised me that they've returned the package because nobody claimed it. What package? The one I sent you. But she had sent it via the manufacturer. Okay. So I just got to say hi to Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie. And Kimmy, I think. Is Kimmy there? Didn't see Kimmy. Anyway, so what happened was she was naturally very upset, right? You can understand that. Because if we can see it from her side, you can understand why she was upset. She did this very thoughtful thing, right? I never got to see it because I never did see it, but it was very thoughtful. So when I got attacked for not caring enough, you understand that's where it comes from, not caring enough to go get the parcel, I was in total confusion because I knew nothing of it. And I'm hoping that this makes sense to you, all right? Can you understand why my sister was so upset? Yes, I hope so. And can you understand my confusion, which is what is going on? I don't know what's happening here. And so what I did know was to breathe as best I could and not take it in. And when she finished lambasting me, which took a while because she does it online rather than on the phone, I wrote back and said, I just want to know if you would like to hear my side of the story. Remember, take the arrow and push it back in a polite way, all right? So this is like, I just want to know if you would like to hear my side of the story. I find that's quite an interesting thing to ask people because it's like some of them are honest enough to say no. I'm going to go, in which case I've saved a lot of time. And it also tells me that they're not ready to listen yet. Make sense? They're not ready to listen yet. So if I get the answer no, then I would write back and say, well, obviously you're still very angry and I totally understand why. So why don't you get back to me when you're ready to talk about this and hopefully hear my side as well. Make sense? Very important. So if you can see both sides, then you understand that this motion from my sister was totally understandable, but I need to drop out of the story, right? Because this is her stuff, her anger, not mine, her anger, her disgust with the fact that I didn't care enough to pick up a parcel. What she doesn't know is my side of the story, nor does she want to at this stage. You see, when you can see that, it's like anything I have to say right now is a total waste of time until she's ready to listen. And she may never be ready to listen. But I can assure you, flapping my lips against somebody with that much anger is absolutely a waste of time. So then she actually did say, well, what's your side then? And I said, I didn't know there was a parcel. Don't you collect your mail? You understand, now more guilt. Don't you collect your mail? I said, no, actually, I don't. What? I said, I don't collect my mail. Yvonne does. Yvonne was my tenant at the time and also is my bestie now. But, you know, it's like, no, I don't collect my mail. Yvonne does. Why? Yvonne used to get far more mail than I did. So I knew she'd go more regularly than I did. Therefore, she collected the mail. And then I got a second guilt trip about the fact that I let my tenant, collect the mail. And I said, she's actually a friend. And why would two of us, go to the mailbox? We both share the same mailbox. We just pick up whatever's in there and we divide it out and we put it on the freezer. And, Yvonne knows that I will come down to use the washing machines. That's where the freezer was in the laundry room. And therefore I'll pick up my mail. And if there's anything that looks important, she'll let me know. Well, she obviously didn't. I said, well, that would be because there's more to the story. Do you want to hear the next bit? Well, if I must. And I went, no, you don't have to. You don't have to. But the rest of the story is that Yvonne is sick, and that's why she hadn't gone to the mail. And I've only just realized that I didn't go, like a good person, to pick up the mail for her. Can you see both sides? My sister's anger, my total confusion. And the parting shot, and you expect a parting shot, by the way, because they need the last word and they need it to hurt. Because they hurt, they need you to hurt. it's not that they're nasty people, it's just the way that it goes. And it was like her parting shot was, well, don't expect to be getting it back because you're not. I went, okay, makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So I just want to make sure that everybody can see both sides of the story, because if we understand this, the force of anger, if you fight back, you're just wasting your time. It's very important. The next thing is when the force of anger starts to run out of steam, then is the time to ask if it's okay to ask a question. Right? That's the way to do it. And whatever the answers are, whatever the answers are to your question, just keep in mind, don't fight back. So I want to tell you that for me, this is like really, really important stuff. And if I had known there was something in the post box, wouldn't I have gone and got it? Especially if I knew it was a fancy gizmo. I think I'd be going to the post box myself or checking with Yvonne whether she'd been in the last couple of days because I was expecting something. But, because I didn't, therefore I was the bad person. Okay, that's a judgment. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't have to agree with it. So what I said was, is there anything I can do to make this better? Or you can even say, what could I do to make this better? And the chances are they're going to say nothing, which, by the way, I already knew. But it's worth asking the question. And so then what I did was I apologized yet again and said, obviously, you are very hurt and I understand why, and I am so sorry. And there's not much more you can say, is there, really, when you think about it? All you can say is sorry. And if they don't want to accept that, that's their stuff, not yours. So now I want to get on to the viewer's story, because it's really important that now that we've sort of got this balance going on, that we understand what happened to the viewer. And the viewer has given me permission to mention their name. It was Jody. And what Jody told me was this. A friend of hers sent her a gift. Not sure if Jody knew about it or not, that the gift was coming. But she was unable to, like myself, she was unable to collect the gift, not because somebody else was going to get it. Well, actually, Lionel probably would have gone to get it. But two things happened. They were snowed in, so they couldn't get to a post box, and the weather was, continuing to be bad. And not only that, at the same time, their car that they use was in the shop. So there was no way they were getting to the post box or to the post office to collect the parcel. Make sense? So when the sender found out that the gift had not been collected, she went a bit ballistic. Anger, right? Let me just hold on here. Okay, Jody's saying she wasn't sure of the time frame, but you knew the package was being sent. Okay. Jeannie, can I... Jeannie's saying that Jody and I were in a similar situation. I sent her a Christmas gift and she never received it. Okay, so sorry to hear that. Anyway, so let me get back to Jody's thing with this other person, because it definitely wasn't about Jeannie. So the sender went ballistic on her, and Jody, unfortunately, took it all in. And the anger was about the fact that how inconsiderate Jody was to not pick up the parcel, and the fact that she'd specially, and I listened to the guilt upon guilt upon guilt, that she'd specially opened up an account at a store to be able to buy the gift, not Jody's stuff, right? Agreed? Her stuff, the sender's stuff, not Jody's. And that she only had until the end of the month to return it if necessary, which is why she needed Jody to open that parcel. So can you see the giver's side? I'm sure you can. But by now, Jody was so angry at the accusations that she was uncaring and unthoughtful and all this, when it was beyond her control, and the sender wasn't interested in her side of the story. Of course not. They're angry. Jody then didn't want to open the package. Can any of you relate to that? She thought that she might just send it straight back, unopened. Unfortunately, she told me about that. And here's what I thought. I thought, that's not the Jody I know. Because that is revenge. You hurt me, so now I'm going to hurt you. Okay? And yeah, Jody, you're right. Jody's saying the sender was livid that I didn't open it the day they wanted me to. It's about control. Now, you see, they're excited because they bought you this lovely gift, and then you didn't even bother to open it, was their thing, right? So that's really important to understand. So if you can see that, then you're a long way along this process. Yeah, Jody's saying it wasn't that I wanted to hurt her, but the gift had an ich about it now. You know, it was like not a nice gift anymore. Well, you know, you can say that, but I'd like to suggest that it really ends up being that, you know, whatever. You know, I'm going to let that run ride for the time being because, you know, obviously that is how you felt. So when you look at it, you can see both sides. You can see Jody's confusion because it was beyond her control. And you can see the sender's confusion or anger because this gift that she had gone to such lengths to buy wasn't even opened yet. And if you know Jody, which I do, you know that she doesn't always open gifts immediately. All right? She doesn't open gifts immediately. I've had it happen where I've sent her something and she said, we're waiting until next Saturday to open it. It confuses me because I got a gift, I open it now person. But Jody is I want to savor the moment person. So I now know that I should not take that personally. And if I want her to be happy with my gift, I should let her do it in her time frame, not mine. Right? So let's go back to this guilt thing about I specially opened up an account to buy this gift. Nothing to do with Jody. All right? But I understand the giver's concern. So then when I heard that Jody was thinking about sending the gift back, I was, I thought that was the sad thing, because this is now you're really judging and punishing yourself for a gift that was sent with love. But that was Jody's choice. So what I said, maybe you want to write, I can't give anybody the right idea, but maybe you want to write to her and say, look, I understand that, because this person lives in another state. It wasn't like she could take it to the, local Walmart and exchange it. It was this person lived in another state and it is a store that wasn't, close to Jody, that they had a sister branch or anything. So what I said was the only thing I can think of is to write and say, I'm going to open it, but only on the condition that if for some reason it doesn't fit, or I need to exchange it or whatever, that I can send it back. Or if I don't have time to send it back, which is possible by the end of the month, that I can donate it to somebody that would appreciate it. Anything I could think of. Because what other choice does poor Jody have, all right? Jody's saying there's so many layers to this. I'm learning so much. Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing about life, all right? They send us these. I always say that life is like a race of a hurdles race, where you run a bit and then you jump over a hurdle, and you run a bit more and you jump over a hurdle. And the lessons that I found in life, life is just a continuation of different lessons. The lessons that I found are that if you've learned this lesson, then the next hurdle is to test it, whether you really have learned the lesson. So, that's one of the funny things I think about life. I keep getting these lessons and I'm going, haven't I learned it yet? Apparently not, because I keep getting the same lesson. So you look at it and you go, I totally understand why Jody was so upset at not being understood. But I also totally understand why the viewer or the sender was so upset. Makes sense to me because I can see both sides. And I wonder whether any of you have a similar story, and what was your answer? Because, I don't think there is one answer to this. I know from the experience with the car that just, waiting till anything settled down a bit was a really good idea. Yeah, Jody's saying that she made sure that she acknowledged her hurt. And by the way, whenever you write anything, especially in a situation like this, make sure it is all about, I understand how hurt you must feel. When actually, no, it's even better to say, I have a feeling I understand how hurt you must feel, but obviously I cannot know how you feel. But I am so sorry. Not that I hurt you, because you didn't hurt her. She hurt herself. And we're inclined to apologize for hurting people. And the only way people can get hurt if they hurt themselves. All right? Now, Jody, in all rational thinking now, days later, you can feel that you took on a lot of that guilt. Yes. And this was a really good friend of Jody's that this happened with. And she's saying she was heartbroken over the fact that she was hurting. That I believe. And all you wanted to do, I'm sure, was to get this settled. But can you see that returning the gift unopened probably would have exacerbated? I don't know if you've done that, but it probably would have intensified the hurt rather than lessened it, regardless of the ick factor for you. That's your stuff, all right? It's still there. Okay, you still got it. Okay, fine. I would open it and I would revel in the love that it was, that she bothered to open up an account, especially so she could buy it for you. So obviously she thinks it's going to be really special for you. And even if you've got to donate it, still go overboard thanking her for the gift. You don't have to mention that you're going to have to donate it, because she's not going to see you. All right? She's not going to see you. She's not going to, I don't know whether it's going to be a sweater or something, or something useful. And if you don't find it useful, she's not going to know that you've donated it unless you tell her. Now, what I would do is, if you open it up and it's wearable, I would put it on and take a picture and send it to her. And if it still has an ick factor, you know what to do with it. If it is a gizmo, I would take a picture of it in your kitchen or wherever, being, basically, being unpacked or whatever, just so she can see you got that far. Oh, listen to this one. Wow, it is a sweater. Jody saying, my problem is that she bought matching sweaters for herself, and I just know she'll want to do a video chat while we're both wearing them. So that's what you keep it for. How long do you think, how often do you think she's going to ask for that? The second time she wants to do it a year later, I don't know where Lionel put it away. I know he put it away specially and he's not here for me to ask or whatever. And then you can't find it. Yeah, I mean, really. And or put it away so you'll never find it. So you don't have to lie. Or put it in the Christmas box, because the time it's going to come up is probably Christmas time. And so if she says, can we can we wear our sweaters? You go, oh, I'd love to be able to, but it's in the, I put it away specially because it's my Christmas sweater now. Jody, think about that. Christmas sweaters you only have to wear once a year. Yes, exactly, Jody. Well done. She said, I'll wear it because of the fact the love and thought that went into it. Absolutely, Jody. Well done. That is the reason you would wear it. That is the reason if you don't want to wear it any other time, that you put it in a Christmas box, because it's so special. Oh, I packed it with all sorts of stuff and because I want it to last a long time. Don't want to wear it out. I assure you, I got stuff in my Christmas box that only comes out for a few weeks of the year, in case those people come to visit at Christmas time. Now, there are other things that stay out the whole year. Mostly, and funny enough, who gives me presents that stay out the whole year? Marnie. Marnie gives me the most beautiful presents. I mean, I must say, I give people, not so beautiful presents, but that's not true. But you know what I mean? It's like Marnie always gives me really beautiful presents, and it's just like very easy to make sure I got Marnie's presents out, because they're always out. All right, so Jody, well done. The fact you can say, I will wear it because of the love that went into it and the thought that went into it, that tells me you've come a long way. That to me touches my heart, Jody, because that's the Jody I love. That's the one I know and love. All right? Jody's saying that I give beautiful presents. Yeah, right. Yeah, but I try. So well done, Jody. Big hug from me with tears in my eyes, and because I know how difficult that must have been to get that far. Right? How incredibly difficult that journey was. All those layers you had to unpeel, all that hurt. And by the way, when somebody hurts you like that, everybody else that's hurt you like that comes up as well, don't they? And it's just like it gets exacerbated, piled upon pile and more layers. Now suddenly you thought you were close to getting over it, and then but that reminds me of, and then you just go, right. And that is quite normal. That is quite normal. So here's my question to all of you that are in the broadcast at the moment, and excuse me, those of you who might be listening later, which is, what if you get the telephone call, or not the telephone call, but the text or whatever, as I did from Jody? Do you think you will be able to help your friend better now? And I was pretty sure that Jody was, I made sure we had a lot of days in between, so Jody had time to decompress. But I was pretty sure, and I asked permission, may I tell the story, first of all? And I said, I can tell the story as it being a viewer. I don't have to use your name. And when Jody said to me, you can use my name, I was pretty darn sure that she was just about through the process. because otherwise she wouldn't have wanted her name attached to it. Does that make any sense? So now try and imagine that you this week, because that's why we have these lessons, right? Number one is to feel them. And I'm certain we can all feel this one, how that went down. But the second one is that we can then help others. Remember that movie, Pay It Forward? The most important thing is, how do you help another person? So number one, encourage them not to respond in kind. Just because this person hurt you doesn't mean that you have to hurt them back. Okay? And even if you think it's fair that you do, don't do it. That would be not a good behavior. Because remember, you are responsible for your behavior, not theirs. So remember the guy with the car, all right? I wasn't responsible for his anger, he was. And so if you can remember, number one, I need to take a deep breath. This hurts, but it's my hurt, not theirs. It's my hurt. So that's I need to deal with, right? My feelings are my feelings and things I need to deal with. So what is the next step you can help your friend with? Number two, apologize, not for hurting them because you didn't, they hurt themselves. Apologize for whatever it was you didn't do that they thought you should. I'm sorry I didn't open up the present in the time that you would have liked. Okay? And even if you don't 100% agree with it, it's worth saying you're sorry for it. Jody's saying this situation would have gone off the rails if it had occurred to me, if it had occurred before I met you. So, all right, I know that because I could tell how you were processing that you were on the path to just being able to get over this pretty quickly. But it was a nasty one, wasn't it? All right, and the reason it was a nasty one is because you've come so far. All right, this is. I like to think of them as exams. Did I pass this exam? And to give you an example, Jody, all I did to keep the house from freezing last night, and I still think that the back end of my house, the pipes are frozen. But you notice I'm not panicking. I haven't made the call to the plumber or anything else because what do? They're going to unfreeze, hopefully. And I've still got water running, and I'm going to keep the water running because it'll help, all that defrost. And we've only got one more day of very serious frost. So therefore, hopefully by Monday or Sunday even, that end of the house will have thawed. The other thing is this. I kept the temperature up as high as I could in the house last night. And even then, my heaters and, because my furnace was broken, my heaters and my fireplace struggled to keep the house warm. That's how cold it was. And I've never had that before. So, even now I've got the fireplace on and it's just managed to get the house to 70, this part of the house. Now, this part of the house normally is way hotter. And the back end of the house, what did it crawl to? It crawled up to about, hang on, I've got to convert it into American. Yeah, about 67, 68. And that was with my heater on full blast. And I say my heater, I've got an oil-fired heater, and so it's going to be one of those days. But I'm not panicking because I have no reason to panic right now. Luckily, I have two different toilets, and when that one freezes and there's no water going into it, remember, I can still flush if I find water and pour it into the system. Make sense? So it's a little inconvenient, but I can still do it. Just need to get a bucket and do it. You see, it's not that I need to panic. It's like I just need to do what I need to do. It is what it is, and I need to do what I need to do for a couple of days. Don't think it's the end of the world, do you? And the other thing is, when you've got two different toilets, Yeah, I'm inclined to use them for two different reasons, especially if the one is flushing. I'm sure you can work that out in your brain. I don't need to go into details, right? So, moving on. Um, hmm. This is week 2 of not buying any meat. For those of you who don't know, Jody and I are on a mission. We both got freezers full of stuff, including meat, and we're not eating it. So therefore, we made a challenge to ourselves, not to each other. It's not a competition, but we made a challenge to ourselves to see how many weeks we could go without buying meat. Now, Jody has already bought some seafood because it went on sale at such a ridiculous price, and I understand that, right? But I must admit that I have now gone 2 weeks without buying any meat on my grocery list. And that is pretty amazing. The other thing I'm finding is it's no wonder my freezers are full. Let me explain why. I will take out, let's say, I think you all know that I'm inclined to buy my meat in big amounts. And then I slice it up. For example, if it's a baron of beef or something, I will cook it and slice half of it. The other half I will cut into cubes, because if I'm doing anything with beef, it's either going to be a stew or it's going to be roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. Make sense? So I slice half of it so I can have many meals of roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, which I love. And then I turn the rest into cubes so when I feel like it, I can make a stew. So what I did was, what I'm noticing is I got a package of sliced meat out and I decided to turn it into a beef barley stew. But here's the thing, I take out one serving out of my, put two bodies in my type freezer. I take out one little package that has about 3 ounces of meat on it because I know that's a portion. Yeah, it doesn't even fill this bag. It fills up about that much of a bag, maybe less, about that much of a bag, right? That's about 3 ounces of meat. So I know that's a portion. And I took that out. And you know what I did with it? I didn't eat this. I turned this into 2 meals and a soup. Can you now see why my freezer is overflowing? I don't know how to eat a portion and just let it be a portion. Should have had just roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. Nothing left over, but no. I had to use my little bread maker. Oh, my bread maker thing, cast iron, and to see whether it could do a stew. So I chucked everything in, filled it up. I now know that is more than 2 meals in there. Do not do that to yourself. By the way, Jody, it continues to make awesome bread. Look at the crumb on that. Oh. And that was done with frozen sourdough starter. Isn't that amazing? So, do you understand why my freezers overflow? I fill them up. I don't empty them. So this is a learning for me. Jody, a peeling of the onion for me. All right, which is really, Sal, will you stop doing that? This is not how long can you make this meat last. This is you're trying to clear the meat, Sal. You need to just take out a portion and eat a portion, not turn it into 3 more. That's got to get that thinking straight. But I can certainly, why? Because that food's been in there, for long enough. It needs to be recycled. Oh, Jody says she's in the same boat. Good. Well, not good, Jody, but I understand. And who knows what I'm going to have to throw out when I get down to it. But I have 2 weeks now. I'm very proud of myself. 2 weeks without buying meat. And I've been eating meat very well. Excuse me. The next thing was, excuse me, And the next thing was I went to the denturist this week. Now, it's interesting. One of my friends wrote to me and said she didn't know what the word was. She lives in another country, and had to look it up. So a denturist is somebody who deals with dentures, obviously. But the weird thing, I just realized I didn't do any birthdays today. Jody, could you just check the list for me and see who I've missed for this coming week? Thank you. All right, so Jeannie's saying she bought a piece of haddock. It's about one of the few fish I really like, for $6.99 a pound, and she plans to cook it tomorrow. Anyway, so I went to the denturist, and as you all know, I broke, or rather the filling came out from the back of this tooth, and I literally have half a tooth here. How long it's going to last, we don't know. It's probably not much longer, but every day that it lasts, I'm happy. What has to happen is that has to get pulled, and so does another one and another one. At least 3 now need to be pulled. And this is mostly due to taking that drug that I took to combat cancer. And so now I've got to find out how much is it going to cost for me to get a denture. Now, the first thing was I felt great joy. I felt great joy because Yvonne came with me because she knew I would need a set of ears. For those of you who don't know, my hearing is very severely challenged these days. And so she knew that I would get frustrated if I couldn't hear, and then that would not be a fun experience for me. So what she did is she came to be my ears, and also she has experience. She also has a partial in her mouth, and so she has a lot of experience of this. I felt uneasy. I don't know if any of you have ever been this route, but it's an uneasy feeling, all right, to think that you've got to have a denture. But also because the denturist, the guy that I saw, for some reason didn't look me in the eyes. And I have a tape that plays in my head from my mother that says, don't trust people who don't look you in the eye. Well, yeah, I try to have compassion because I was here and Yvonne was over there. So I think half the time he sort of was looking straight ahead so we could both hear him. I'd like to think that's what it was. But I could be wrong. But I know I felt uneasy, and Yvonne picked up on that. And then he gave me the options. There are options between having it on a metal plate, which is the recommended thing, or you can have an acrylic one, which is cheaper, and so forth. I already knew all about that, so I said, don't worry about giving me the options. I want a metal plate. So I wanted to save him time. Didn't have to sell me on that. We're clear on birthdays. That's probably why I haven't got anything new on there. Thank you very much, Jody. Anyway, so by the way, if we've missed your birthday, please let me know because it means it's not on our database. Thanks, Jody. So then we got to the reality. What is it going to cost? Now, you understand, one is the denture, and he said, I've got to recommend that you get both, upper and lower. Now, I wasn't expecting that. And he said, because right now you have nothing to chew on. I've lost all my molars, if you can imagine that. And he said, we can give you a biting surface back again, a chewing surface, which you haven't got at the moment. I'm chewing on gums at the moment. So that sort of felt nice to hear. But then you also hear that, even though we're going to give you this, you understand food's going to get caught underneath and, all the downside of having dentures. But then Yvonne was very quick to say, you just go to the bathroom, rinse it out and start again. So Yvonne's got experience and not a big thing. But the real reality I had to deal with, and lots of realities that you need to deal with, it's going to take a year for my mouth to be comfortable with them. But the trick is you need to keep wearing them so that your mouth can get comfortable with them. That's going to be difficult. I'm horrified. Will I be able to broadcast? Will I be hissing and goodness knows what else? Well, we'll deal with it. And then came the bit about how much money. And he said, well, it's going to cost this much. And I looked at him and I said, wait a minute. And then how much on top of that? He said, what? I said, I got a feeling there's probably more. So what are the add-ons that you're about to tell me about? And guess what? I was right. It did not include the special mold that they do right at the beginning to find out. They do it while I still got half teeth and everything else going on. Because then they will start working out what is the best thing they can do as for dentures for me, right? They can start working with that. And then when they do the final impression just before I have my teeth pulled, then I have to come up with money. Now the pre one that they do, that's going to cost me $100 each. But then the actual dentures are going to cost me, I think about $4,500. And then I've got to have 3 teeth pulled. So I'm thinking maybe I'm in for about $5,500 here. I don't have insurance to cover that. So that's money I need to find. So you can understand that's a reality. If I want to keep my smile, right? If I want to fill in those gaps that you can see, right? If I want to be able to chew again, that's that's the price I need to pay. Now, luckily, I have that money at the moment. But, it's not money I had planned to spend, quite honestly. So that would make it, it's a funny thing because automatically my mind went peeling the onion. Oh my gosh, if I spend this much, I won't be able to stay here as long, right? Because of the cost of living in my home. Because it means I need to sell it to get to the money that's equity in my home. So then I thought, that's not actually true. Because I have enough money to stay here right now. And also for every year that I stay here, the value of my house is going up exponentially. I want to tell you, I've been here, 4 years now? What amazed me is I think in about a year, it will have doubled in value. It's up to about, I haven't got the figure with me, but it's already doubled, I think, like 74% since I moved here. That's what's happening to the property prices here in British Columbia. So to me, this is like, I don't need to worry about the later side because what I've got is equity. And I just, and I've got enough to keep me here a little while. The other thing is, if I want to stay here longer, for every year I stay here, you understand my equity is going up. But if I want to stay here longer, it means I've got to be self-sufficient longer, i.e. I need to be able to walk. I need to be able to look after myself. I need to be able to be mobile. Now, can I live in this place in a wheelchair if I had to? Yes, I think I could. I'd have to move a couple of things, but I think I could. I'd have to build a wheelchair ramp, but I think I could. And so, you know what I mean? It's like it's possible. And I know that I'm having a lot of problem, sort of staying mobile at the moment in a lot of ways. However, as Jody knows, and as some of you who are regular people know, I am putting in, 65, I think I average about 6,500 steps. That's my thing a day. That's what I work on to try and do that, at least that. But it's an effort to do it. All right, it's not easy. You probably think it is, but it isn't. I have to consciously do it. And what I do, as you heard last week, is at 9 o'clock, I double check to see how many more steps do I need to do today. And I know that 10 minutes on my bike or walking in front of the television, 10 minutes is 1,000 steps. So, and we can do it all through the year if we want to. You can do it, even though I can't go outside because it's so cold. I can do it. I just have to want to do it badly enough. I just want to see what my average is for this week. Oh, that's not fair on me. All right, because we've only just started today. So the average at the moment is about 5,300, but it's just we're only at midday. So by the time I've got my steps in today, that will be a lot more. Let me see what I did here for the week. Sunday I did 6-7. Monday I did 6-6. Tuesday 4-9. Wednesday 6-5. Yesterday was 6-5 and nearly 6-6. And then today I've only done nothing. Not what we're talking about, really. Definitely not what we're talking about. I crawled out of bed to do a broadcast, apparently. So, which is what I did. So, can you understand that this whole thing about the teeth, Jody, it's full of emotion, right? Good and bad and indifferent. But, as long as I can keep balanced, all right? Yes, it's going to be a lot of money, but yes, I have it. All right? It's just going to be like pulling chicken teeth, right? To try and write those checks or, put it on my visa or whatever. It's going to be difficult, intellectually difficult. And then I thought about how much am I allowed to put on my visa. I have my visa set up so I can only spend so much on it a day. In case it ever gets compromised, they can only spend so much. And so, I may have to tell them, put this much on and then the next day put it on again because I'm only allowed to pull that much a day. But, if they want their money, that's how they can do it. It's doable, people. It's going to be challenging, but it's doable. And at the end of it, I believe I'm going to have what I need to be able to eat. Jody's saying, you're going to do well with the adjustment. I have every faith. It's the number of appointments you have to have that blows my mind. Anyway, we'll get into that because you'll be doing that with me. So, Jody, see, Jody's really doing well on this alternative thinking. She's going, on the plus side, if it's on your visa, then you get all the points for the gizmos that you want at the end of the year. Jody knows that I buy my groceries on my visa and everything else because it all racks up points. And at the end of the year, I buy myself whatever gizmo I want. That was this year's gizmo purchase. And, that's it. It's a fun way of doing it, right? It's called, and I do work to pay it off every month. In fact, I pay off my visa twice a month to make sure I don't get out of control and to remind myself of the reality. And then I have to remind myself this isn't just paying Amazon. This is also paying all my food and everything else. So, but yes, Jody, a good point, right? Another plus side to it. I think of it as an investment rather than as a loss. So that's good. Now then, on the other side, Siora came yesterday. And now that the weather is so cold, we're inside. And as you know, I'm in the process of downsizing the whole of my shed and my house a second time. So I still have boxes in my second bedroom, I call the studio. I still have boxes in there that I've never opened since I moved back into the house after the fire. That's 2 years ago. because I know what's in them. A lot of them are things like papers, that I'm pretty sure are just papers that I just need to go through and put them in the box that's shred this paper. There's still some art stuff in there. And I haven't unpacked it because I haven't been in the art mentality. I've been in soaps and Christmas villages and stuff like that. But what I did, and it was quite exciting for both Siora and myself, is this week I've got to show you these units I got. Hold on. I bought a second lot of these shoe boxes made for the bigger shoes, all right, the ankle type runners and stuff that guys wear. And the reason I like them is you can stack them up like this, or you can have them like this. And as you can see, at least 2 of my trees fit in there, okay, perfectly. All right. Now, the one that doesn't is my stacking heart, and I've got a choice that I can make. I can just change the design and make it just that little bit smaller so that it does fit in here, or I can just have one of these cubies and I just put them in sideways like this and stack them. Remember, they do fold, so that is also very exciting. Now, so I was busy building these for my craft room, and at the same time I bought a stack of 12 cubies for the back room, because until we've got the space, we can't unpack the boxes because we don't have anywhere to put them. So what will happen next? First of all, we moved some things around, but what we've done now is we've built this 12 cube segment that I've nearly already filled up, but that's another story. What we're going to do is take all the boxes out of the studio and put them in my bedroom, which I will hate. But I will put them in my bedroom so that we've got a clear space to work in the studio. And then what we will do is probably put them back during the week, but every week we'll take them out again, so we've got room to work and we can get to all the cubicles and everything else and start turning those into intelligent groupings. All right. One of the things you learn when you're downsizing is, number one, what you do is you put things into categories. Number two, you purge the category. Number three, you contain the category. So hence the reason I'm working in the craft room during the week. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I've got these boxes, right? I'm trying to do that. I've got a lot of cubies in my craft room, but they're half full. I've also got a lot of things that I notice that I've got taking up valuable real estate, things that I don't use very often. And so those things are going to go into a banker box, properly marked. For example, I probably have got about 102 different sorts of labels that, you know what I mean? Those sticky ones, these type that you peel off, address labels and things, right? Like this. I probably got, well, let's say I've got at least 50. I'm pretty sure I'm not exaggerating. But do I use them all? No, I use about 4 regularly. So what I'm going to do is put all those into a box, a banker box, and that's going to go away into a bottom of one of the cupboards in the craft room. But that can go away. As long as I know when I want those stickers that I'm not using regularly, I know where to get them. The other thing I found, which is really important, hold on. Gosh, I'm sorry that took so long. All right, the other thing I found, to my amazement, is that when I'm working on a project, I keep it in a folder like this, all right? So this one is the little small heart cards is a project of its own, right? That's the little small heart card on there. So, and I make those using the scrap paper that gets left after I've made everything else. Rather than throw it away, I make these little cards out of them. A little bit labor intensive, but good use of the time. But they go into a pocket like this. And what I found out was that this fits perfectly into here. Now, how tidy is that going to be? So now what I've got, it's not the best solution yet, but I've got little labels, using up these labels, of which I've got so many. And then I've got all these packets. A second. These are just some I'm working on this week, but I've got all these packets, right, like this, and then they've got the labels. So I can either have them in a cubie that I can take from room to room, or if they're ones that I'm not using regularly, I can put them into something like this and just, put them away. For example, 3 Wise Men I won't be making for a while yet, so that can go into what I call an archive system for when I start doing the 3 Wise Men again. So nice, right? Organized. And these pockets I get on Wish. And the funny thing is, I always put all my accounting stuff in them as well. I collect any receipts or anything I get, I put it into a pocket. So Yvonne keeps getting these and she loves them. Oh, that reminds me, she's coming tomorrow. That's good. All right, so, but you understand the idea of group it, purge it, and then contain it. Now, what Siora did such a great job of yesterday was she had a pretty good idea of how she wanted to organize my craft room, my back room. Yeah. Jody's saying, I imagine that's a stress reducer, having the folders prepped. Very cool. What I like about it, Jody, is, the thing that takes a lot of time, as you know, is the cutting. All right. So what I do is this, for example, is about 6 different trees. Those trees with the hearts on it. And these take like a couple of hours just to cut one tree. All right. And so what I've learned to do is to make sure that I cut those at night while I'm doing other things, cooking, while I'm whatever, so they are things that I know take a long time. So the clever thing is I've got a list now of things that take a long time to cut. Now, a regular tree like this takes about half an hour per side. So just one of these trees has 3 sides. That's about an hour and a half of cutting on my machine. But I do that during the day, and then every time I go to the washroom, I put another thing in to cut. And then once a day I go and I take everything, I've got about 12 mats, so I can do about 4 trees without running out of mats. So, it's like I'm beginning to get this process down quite well. And, which is good. Thank you. Jeannie's saying, have a nice visit with Yvonne. We always have a nice visit. And I'm sure we'll be talking teeth and fears and all those sort of things. But most of all, I hope tomorrow that we talk a lot about the fact that how good we were to support each other giving up smoking. For those of you who don't know, Yvonne gave up smoking first in September. And we all know that you can give up smoking, but 6 months later, within the first 6 months, you probably started back again. So when she gave up, we lived in the same house. When she gave up, I said, Bonnie, I'm not ready to quit yet. But if you have still not had a cigarette by Christmas, that's 3 months away, I'm going to stop in the new year. And So you better be clear that you're not going to start again. Because if you start again, you know that's going to affect me. So that was the two of us together, like, and it was so funny because we both admitted that during that first year there were plenty of times we both wanted to go back to smoking, and we didn't because it would affect the other one. Yes, and Jody's saying support is a wonderful gift to give and also receive. Absolutely. And it's a very important gift. I think it's same thing. It's like Yvonne took time off work to come with me. Uh, yes, to the dentist. Took time off work to do that. How kind. It affected her bottom line. But it also, she knew that I needed that. All right. Now, she won't need to come to the other appointments as much because, I know what's going on. It's that first one where I don't know what's going on and I don't know the questions to ask, but she does. And that was what made it so easy, was that Yvonne just asked the questions that she had to answer for herself when she had hers done. And I was so thankful for that. So we can do this together. And what I want to make sure you all know is that whenever anybody attacks you out of the blue, it isn't what you planned for the day, right? You get up in the morning and you think life's going, I think the word is, it's copacetic. Everything's fine. And suddenly you get attacked for no reason whatsoever in your view. Boy, it messes your mind. Because you lost control for a second. Think about that, right? You had control of your day, you know exactly what you were going to do or not do, and da-da-da-da. And suddenly the whole day is ruined by this interruption to it. Now, that's a control issue. And I struggle with that myself. But I'm learning that, I've got the rest of my life to sort the rest of it out, right? With very few exceptions. Most things don't have to be done today. You just would like to get them done today. So what I want you all to do is, in terms of this journey that we're all taking week after week after week of our emotional intelligence, is that you can do this slowly. Remember what the monk said: smile, breathe, and go slowly. So when I thought when I thought that the water was okay this morning, I then went to flush my toilet and my toilet didn't flush, and I went, why? Oh, it flushed once. The second time it didn't. And I'm going, why did it not flush? And I'm going, oh my gosh, my pipes are frozen again. And then I said, but I had my hot water running slowly all night, very slowly. And I went, yeah, tonight, once you get it defrosted, thawed, you're going to run the cold tap all night, not the hot. I thought I was being so clever with the hot tap. And then, of course, I got worried about, well, is there water getting to my water heater? Because definitely I got hot water. But now I think I've run enough, flushed enough to know that this end of the house, as it was last time, this end of the house hasn't got a problem with the cold. It's the back end, as usual. So, yeah, been there before, had the experience, know what to do, just be patient, and just keep running the rest of it. It helps somehow keep it moving, and it just lodges a little bit of ice that's ready to move, you know what I mean? And what I keep doing is to still run some hot water just so the heat runs, those two pipes run together. At least you've got some heat traveling along so the other pipe gets some heat. Not enough, apparently. Learning moment. I can do this. So, all of you, I hope this has been of some value. Our day is going to get messed up more times than we want to. And there is such a horrible feeling when people accuse you and then guilt you. But remember, it's their baggage, not yours. That's why there was the photo that I used on that particular thumbnail. It's about baggage. It is about their hurt. It is about their expectation of you. It is about their stuff. And then they offload it onto you. And if you are really clever, you can feel it, pick up the arrow, ignore the blood, and just hand it back with a question or two. But the main thing is let them vent. Let them say what they have to say. They will end up probably apologizing for it many moons later, if they are the person you think they are or not. And you don't need them to, because you are the better person on this. When I say the better person, you have the emotional intelligence that you don't need them to apologize for their behavior, because you know you are only responsible for your behavior. And if they don't want to apologize for theirs, that's fine. Doesn't affect you. You are responsible for you, not for them. And it doesn't make them a bad person, people, if they don't apologize for it. It makes them somebody who hasn't grown that much yet. Makes sense? This is Dear Mama Sal saying, have a wonderful weekend. Pray for a thaw at Dear Mama Sal's house. And we'll see you on Sunday, as long as we still have electricity. Yeah, Jody's saying thank, and Sandy, first of all, thanks for the broadcast, as well as Jeannie. But Jody's saying, and thank you for the important reminder, Sal. Made such a positive impact on my life. Okay, it's a pleasure. Take care, everybody, from Jody and from me. And thank you, Jody and Jeannie, for backup. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, have a great weekend. I'll see you on Sunday with more. We'll be coping with stress on Sunday. That's what we talk about. Bye-bye for now.